Don't look so scared. I want my daughter to talk about what you went through um, once you ran away, because I was like, where did my daughter go and why doesn't she want to see me? And if we can start right there.
Um, well, there was a lot before that had happened. Before I led up to running away, I ran away from you like twice. Um,
Wow.
but the last one that made me say I was done,
Mhm.
it was when we lived at that one trailer park with your one boyfriend. Remember, you guys were staying in that it wasn't, it was like a storage room, and we
I don't
were,
even
yeah,
remember.
they were staying in a storage room, and we were actually in the trailer with the parent, with the mom, his mom.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
and she would
remember.
take care of us. You
Hmm.
know, she made sure we were fed, and then that's when I met my first boyfriend. Ooh, I was 15, he was 21.
Skip it.
So, yeah, I know, but he
Skip.
would help take care of me and my brother too.
Right,
So
right,
that's
right,
why,
right,
like, I appreciate what God had sent me because He knew what I needed in the moment. You know,
right.
but um, long story short, we were gonna go to my grandma's house, her mom. She lived in Monrovia, and she was like, "Oh, let's go get these cans. What is it? Let's go cash these cans so we can take the
Recycling.
bus, so we can go see grandma." And I was like, "All right, bet, let's go." Like whatever my mom wanted to do, I was down for. I was like,
Yeah.
unless it was illegal, I did not want to. Sorry, cut that out.
No cutting, no cuts.
Oh, putting all the business out there. But
It's
anyways,
okay.
so she was pushing her what is it, your bike, and I was pushing my brother in the basket with the cans. It was a shopping cart, you know. So we're walking, and we're probably like barely down the street, and she starts crying, and I was like, "Oh Lord, what is she crying about now?"
Mm.
She was a crybaby then, and she's still a crybaby now. So
Lord.
um, and she just pulls over and she sits down and she puts her
My
head in.
bike. I pulled over my
Yeah,
bike.
she pulled over her bike. She puts her hands in her head and she's like, she just starts crying. And I was like, what is she crying about? You know, like, we're fine. I want to go see my Grammy, you know? So I go over to her and I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she's like, leave me alone. And I was like, okay, but why are you crying? You know? And she's like, just leave me alone. And like started screaming at me. And I was like, all right. So I went to go over my brother and I'm just watching her cry on the side of the street.
Hmm.
And and she like gets up and she's like, "Didn't I effing tell you to leave me alone? Just leave." Like, mind you, this is all
Oh.
screaming. And I'm like, "All right." So at this point I was used to that because it was kind of like a daily thing almost. And I grabbed my brother from the shopping cart and she told me, cuz I would always take him with me everywhere I went. Like everywhere I went, he was going with me. He was at my hip. If I could, he would be like right there. But she told me to leave him. And I was like, and I stood there like dumbfounded. And I was like, what? Like, cause she knew like I would just take him with me. So she literally was like, leave him there, like yelling at me. And I was like, I was scared. So I just left him there. I'm sorry, Julian. But I left him there with her and I ran back to the house where we were, well, the trailer. And the lady that we were staying with, I had asked her to use my phone, and I think it was a couple of weeks before that.
Mm.
Auntie Selena, she had gave me her phone number, and I had kept it,
Mhm.
and you didn't know, and I had it in a bag, and she told me, she was like, if you ever need me, call me.
Mhm.
So I had it still, and I asked the lady for her phone, and I called my aunt, and I was like, I remember praying to God. I was like,
Mm.
Lord, please
Wow.
take me out of this situation. Like, I'm so tired of this life. Like, I don't want to be in this situation no more for me and my brother, you know? And she didn't answer. And I was like, okay, maybe it's not meant. But then she called me back
Mhm.
and she was like, Niece, what happened? And I was like, and I was crying and I was like, I need you to come get me. And she was like, okay, I'll be right there. Where are you? And I was like, we're in Azusa at this place. And she was like, okay, I'll be right there. And like, she dropped everything for me. You know, I'm eternally grateful for her because of that, you know? Don't start crying.
I'm
So she
grateful
was literally
too.
there within like an hour, maybe less. And she was like, where's your mom? And I was like, I don't know. Or something like that. And so I wanted to take Julian. Oh, I think you were in the room with him, and I wanted to take Julian, and she said, "We'll come back for him. I promise." Like, or that we couldn't take him right then and there because she was living with the kid's dad, and she didn't tell him that she was gonna bring me.
Right.
So she already knew he was gonna be upset. But I'm thankful that he welcomed me with open arms as well, because I don't know what I have where we would be. I'm pretty sure we'd be dead if
Wow.
she never took us. So I just remember like the next day we went to go check up on Julian, and he was in his diaper filled with just pee. It wasn't like fecal matter, but had no clothes on, and he was running the streets right there. And I was like, "Oh, my baby," because he was my child. And I
Wow.
remember calling his dad and telling him, "Please come get him," and he didn't want to come get him. And I begged him. I was like, "Please, like he is not gonna be good without me here. I'm scared for his life. Like I don't want him to die." So he ended up coming to get him that same day. And I remember him taking him in the car and everything. And it was just, yeah, that's when we left you.
Wow.
Mhm.
I see. I mean, it's hard for me not to get emotional
I'm
too.
a little teary eyed too, not gonna lie.
um, well, um, but I'm grateful that um that God kept you safe
Yeah, me
and
too.
He actually provided for you in this time. But what were your feelings once you left? Because like I said, I don't remember you leaving, but what were your feelings when you finally left?
I It was like a overwhelming of like relief, but also like fear, because I didn't know how it would be with my aunt. And I was excited because I got to see my cousins, because I love them. They're like my siblings. But I was more scared of like what my life would be like now, because I knew my life with you, but I didn't know my life with them. And it turned out great. But I was also thinking that, wow, I can actually be a kid. Like I could actually enjoy my teenage years, because I was raising my brother. I was making sure he was fed. I was fed. I would go panhandle people with him. Like I would go because we lived across. Like remember that
Mhm.
area? There was a lot of
I
grocery
remember.
stores, and because you weren't making money, you weren't working for years, so we had to eat somehow. We had to. He needed necessity stuff like diapers, so I would
Wow.
go up to people and, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I really need money for my brother to eat. He needs formula or whatever it was. Like,
Wow.
yeah, and they would
I
give me like
didn't
20
know
bu-
that.
they would give me like $20,
Wow.
and that's why like my first boyfriend, quote unquote first boyfriend, I don't count him, but he would work and he would give me money for him, and that's the only reason
Wow.
why I dated him. Not to be mean, but it's true, because I knew he would help me, and I wasn't gonna be going without for my brother, because I didn't care. I could go without, and I went without for a long time. When you were pregnant with him, we both did,
Mhm.
you know and yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. So with all these feelings like surfacing now, like um once you knew like I went into the home, what was your response?
The women's home. Well, I was back out in Arizona. I was in college. I actually had a dream about her dying. My uncle was in going to the church, and I was in contact with him because he was always around when I was living with my aunt. So I remember in the dream. Is it okay if I talk about it?
Sure. You
Okay.
guys want to hear that?
Oh, you're gonna hear it anyways.
Okay, let's talk
um,
about the dream.
Okay, so I had a dream that it was me, her, and my brother, and we were in the old car we had, the white van that cousin Cookie gave us.
I traded my car for oh, it was a
It was a white
Ford
something.
Explorer.
Yeah, it was a bigger car. So we were in that car, and because of like our past stuff that we went through, this dream was not like a shock. But she was driving with her hat backwards. I remember, and my brother was in the back seat in his car seat, and I was in the front with her. Normal things. And she stops on the train tracks,
This
and
is your dream.
this is my dream. She stops on the train tracks, and I was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Like there was no cars behind us, there was no cars in front of us. I was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" She's like, "I don't want to live anymore." And I was like, "Okay, why?" And she's like, because I'm tired of this life. Like, I just want to die and I'm taking you guys with me. Mind you, she had said that in real life before. So, and then I see a train, this back to my dream. I see a train coming and I was like, Mom, like, there's a train coming. Like, I could hear it in the distance. And I get out the car and I get my brother and I'm standing kind of in front of the car and I'm like, Mom, get out the effing car. And she's like, stubborn, very stubborn woman. And she was like, no, I'm just gonna sit here and die. And I'm like, and it wasn't like you at that point, you know? And I was like,
The
I just
voice was
remember,
different.
yes. And I just remember the train hitting the car and I just remember screaming, Mom. And I woke up and I was crying. I was already sobbing in my dream. In real life. I was in my bedroom, you know,
Mhm.
at college, and I was like, what did I just dream? And mind you, I hadn't had like a vivid dream like that. Like, cause I've never been a dreamer or, you know, or had dreams like that. But only when I was a kid, you know. So that was like a real vivid dream for me. And I just remember calling Uncle Anthony. And it was probably like 3 or 4 in the morning. He didn't answer.
Mhm.
So the next day I just went back to sleep and then I called him the next day and he told me that you're in the hospital that night.
I was.
And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, she almost died." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "But she's okay though, you know." And I was like, "Well, what happened?" And I don't remember what he said that you went through,
Mhm.
but that I just remember like this feeling of like relief over me though.
Wow.
So, and I remember like I went into my Bible. I wish I still had the pictures and I remember the scripture because I don't.
Mhm.
But it was basically saying like everything's gonna be okay. And I was like,
It's like the Lord was speaking to you.
yeah, because I remember I was crying and like my teardrops had fell like on specific words,
Mhm.
and that's what like I got from that. And I was like, all right, like, and I had written everything down because I was like pretty adamant about like journaling.
Mhm.
And I wish I still had them all though, but I don't because I don't remember what it says. But it was like
You
really
have your
like,
Bible.
yeah, I was really in tune with what I was going through at the moment, and I was like, whoa, like that's crazy.
And do you think that it's amazing? I mean, I think it's absolutely amazing when I think about um I was that very next day when you called and you talked to Uncle, it was the very same day that I surrendered my life to Christ.
Because you did
And
after you got out the hospital, you went
yeah, the
and
very
you.
next day, then that morning was the morning that I seen him, and he told me about Jesus, and I was so upset, and I didn't know I was gonna surrender my life that day.
Mhm.
But I think that's amazing how you had a dream that the
Mhm.
Lord would give you the dream that that old person would die, and He would give me life again.
And it's funny that you say that because I remember specifically your hat backwards. It was a pink and black hat, and you
Oh
said
yeah,
that you cut it up.
I had to, I
And
had to,
I think
because
that's like really symbolic too because of idolizing
right.
like that old life that you had. Like, oh, I'm Annie from the streets. Like, don't mess with me.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
when we did idol crushing, I
Mhm.
remember I took these like booty shorts, and I'm thinking
Mm.
I'm gonna cut up these booty shorts, and when